Welcome to the Buddhistisches Tor Berlin podcast. Join us for live recordings from classes, insightful talks, and guided meditations.
Okay, well, good to see you all. And I'm thinking this is going to be a fairly short talk. Famous last words, but I think it will be a fairly short talk. I've been taking on as a precept something that Sangharakshita once said. So Sangharakshita is the founder of our Triratna Buddhist community. He's got this aphorism, which is more and more of less and less. More and more of less and less. So I've been trying to put this into practice for several years now. By habit, I think I'm somebody who likes to do more and more of more and more. So trying to do this more and more of less and less. So let's see how that unfolds in the talk. And I want to speak this morning on what we call the Bahiya Sutta. So a sutta is literally means thread. So it's the word we use to describe the Buddha's teachings. So they're threads. That if we follow them, I guess we're following them into the past, but also following them into the mind of the Buddha. So we've got these threads that have come down to us through the ages, these suttas, and this one is the Bahiya Sutta. So Bahiya is a person, so he's the man, the main character, other than the Buddha, in this particular teaching. So in the spirit of more and more of less and less, I'm going to just read the sutta. It's short, don't worry. I'm just going to read it, and all you need to do is listen. Nothing else. You don't have to work anything out. You don't have to try to understand it. Just listen and see what effect it has. Just in time. Once the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in the Jeta wood at Anathapindika's park. At that time, a man called Bahiya of the bark cloth was living by the seashore of Supakara. He was respected, honoured, and supported by local people as a holy man. But one day, when he was alone, he wondered, am I an enlightened person? Or on the path to becoming one? A Devata, who had once been a relative of Bahiya, read his mind and said to him, you are neither an enlightened person nor on the path to becoming one, because you're not doing the right practice. The Devata went on to tell Bahiya that in Savatthi he would find the Buddha, the fully enlightened one, who would teach him the way to become an enlightened person. Bahiya left straight away and travelled as fast as he could to Savatthi, where the Buddha was staying in the Jeta wood at Anathapindika's park. But when he got to the Jeta wood, the bhikkhus there told him that the Buddha had left on his alms round to collect food. So Bahiya headed into Savatthi and saw the Buddha walking there, lovely to see, with calmed senses and tranquil mind, calm and controlled like a perfectly trained elephant. Bahiya immediately flung himself at the Buddha's feet and said, teach me the Dharma, Lord, so that it will be for my good and happiness for a long time. The Buddha said that it wasn't the right time. He was on his alms round. But Bahiya persisted. He said, it's difficult to know how long you will live, or I will live. Please teach me now. The Buddha again said that it wasn't the right time. But Bahiya asked the same question yet again. And then the Buddha said, for you then, Bahiya, As regards things seen, heard, sensed, or cognized, there will be in the seen only the seen. In the heard, only the heard. In the sensed, only the sensed. In the cognized, only the cognized. When you experience things in that way, then who you are will not be defined by that. And then who you are will not be found in that. And when who you are is not found in that, then who you are will neither be here, nor in the beyond, nor in between. Just this is the end of suffering. On hearing this brief teaching, Bahiya was immediately freed from the taints without grasping. Soon after that, he was killed by a cow with a young calf. The Buddha asked some of the bhikkhus to take away Bahiya's body, burn it, and make a cairn for it. Having done so, the bhikkhus asked the Buddha what Bahiya's destiny would be. The Buddha said that Bahiya was a wise man who practiced according to the Dharma and didn't vex him in the matter of Dharma teaching, and declared that he had reached final nirvana. And so saying, he breathed out these words: "Where neither earth nor water, nor fire, nor wind find a footing, there the stars do not glimmer, nor does the sun spread its light. There the moon does not shine, nor is darkness to be found." And when a sage knows this for themselves, in clarity, then they are released from the realm of form, from the formless, from pleasure and pain. Okay. Any responses? It's interesting seeing people's facial responses as I was reading, or how you were listening, some with closed eyes, some open. But anyone want to share how it was just to hear that? Don't have to. I'm just doing less. Okay. Well, I'm sure you had responses. It's interesting when we hear those things, isn't it? It definitely does something, just listening, just hearing. For me, it always creates images. So whether that was images of Bahiya and his experience, what happened, his journey, whether it was images of the Buddha, or these images at the end, the sun, the moon, they're not there, but it's not dark either. So the text is kind of playing with our perception a little bit. So I think what we get there is a really small window into quite a vast world. Maybe that's why nobody wanted to say anything, not just shyness. It could be that when we hear something like that, even though it's quite short, it opens up another world, doesn't it? So we were suddenly cast back 2,500 years to ancient India, the time of the Buddha, these holy people in that culture. So through time we're kind of cast back. But also we meet the Buddha in that teaching, and he says something which is a bit strange, really, isn't it? People don't talk like that very often. So we enter this kind of other world, kind of vast world, yet through this small window. So that text is from a collection of teachings called the Udana, and they're all very short. So an Udana is like a short breath. So always the teaching comes at the very end where the Buddha breathes out a short verse. So like very short teachings set within a particular story. If you're interested in reading any of the Buddhist texts, I recommend the Udana. It's about that thick. The others are like that. So more and more of less and less. It's thin and it's a bit more readable. But also I think it's relatable. So this story of Bahiya, I don't know about you, but I can relate quite easily to that story. So particularly the bit at the beginning. So the story starts with Bahiya by the sea, just getting on with his life. He's in quite a comfortable position, isn't he? He's well respected, well honoured. He teaches others as a holy person. But then he gets this experience of doubt, questioning. Probably people were telling him like he was really wise. And then he starts to ask himself, like, am I? Am I an enlightened person? Maybe people have told him that. Am I really? Maybe he's thought it himself, but now he's slipping into doubt. So I can really relate to that sense of something's not quite right here. Do you ever have that feeling in your life like things are going along, but then something's not quite right here? I guess in the Buddhist tradition we would call that dukkha. So dukkha is often translated as suffering. I once saw a translation of dukkha. I don't know how literal this is, but something like the ill-fitting chariot wheel. Like the wheel that's not quite stuck on. I don't have a chariot, but I have a bike. And do you ever have that thing where the bike wheel buckles a bit, so you can see it's not quite straight? And when you're riding, you kind of veer over to one side. You're holding things straight, but the bike's kind of going off. Well, sometimes life is a bit like that, isn't it? Everything's on track, you think, but then something is a bit bumpy or taking you off. So I think Bahiya is having that kind of experience, that something here is not quite right. And it's leading him into this questioning. I imagine human beings have been asking this question for like tens of thousands of years, like, something's not right here. What do I need to do? I'm pretty sure that's an ancient problem. And probably all of us have asked that question. Most people come to Buddhist centres because there's a sense of something's not quite right. Or even if things are good, it's like, yeah, but things could probably be better. And maybe there's something in Buddhism that will help me with that. So I don't know if that relates to your own story, but it certainly does to mine. So we can relate to this experience of Bahiya's, probably just on quite an ordinary level. Something's not quite right. Then, as we heard, this Devatar appears to him. So a Devatar is like a kind of spirit. And it's the spirit of a relative of Bahiya's who has died. So I find this an interesting detail in the story as well. So the appearance of a deceased relative. So whether we take that literally or not, I tend to try to take these things symbolically, like what does that image do? For me, I was thinking the fact that it's a deceased relative, somebody who's died, it's pointing me into the past, it's pointing me back in time. So there's something about time and the past. But maybe even way back in time, who knows? It doesn't say, does it? A relative who died 10 years ago. It could be thousands of years ago for all we know. But there's something in this image about time, even something timeless or outside of time. Presumably a Devatar is no longer bound by time. They're just appearing even after death. And also the fact it's a relative. So relatives are close to us, aren't they? Blood relatives, like it's about as close as it can get, kind of biologically related. So time and closeness, intimacy. So I wonder if the story here is suggesting that when we're in those situations of not really knowing, something's not quite right, we can tap into a kind of old, close voice. Something that maybe doesn't know the answer to the problem, but knows the direction to take. So the Devata here is telling Bahiya, go to the Buddha. So again, maybe, so in my own experience, something was not quite right. Something told me, like, go to a Buddhist center. I'm not getting crazy and metaphysical about it. It sort of an inner voice said, oh, try going to a Buddhist center. So I don't know where that kind of knowing comes from, but it's got there's a knowingness, a quality of knowing. Sometimes we don't want to listen, do we? And sometimes we do. Sometimes it leads to good things, sometimes we're not quite sure. But I think in this case, it's almost like there's an innate sense of knowing what to do or what direction to go in. So again, maybe you can relate to that in your own lives. In Bahiya's case, he listens. So he listens to this deceased relative who tells him to go and find the Buddha. And he finds the Buddha. And we get that interesting encounter between them. So Bahiya really wants to know, doesn't he? Like, how to live, how to practice, how to discover the truth. But the Buddha's not going there at first. So the Buddha's on his arms round. Presumably, you had to collect your alms by 12 o'clock. Maybe it was 11:45, I don't know. But the Buddha was not about to teach. He wanted to collect his alms food. So he tells Bahiya, not now, this is not the time. But Bahiya persists. So there's an attitude there, isn't there, of really wanting to know, not taking no for an answer. He's got a sense of urgency. He even tells the Buddha, well, I don't know how long you're going to live. I'm sure the Buddha wasn't fazed by that. I don't know how long you're going to live. I don't know how long I'm going to live. So please teach me now. So he's quite sensitive Bahiya, isn't he? That's true. Like, we don't know, do we, how long we've got, how long other people have got. So he's pointing this out to the Buddha. And it works. So the Buddha is able to respond to that. And he gives Bahiya this teaching. So the teaching itself, we'll come back to the urgency bit in a minute. The teaching itself, let me just read it again. It's not so long. Or I'll read part of it again. For you then, Bahiya, as regards things seen, heard, sensed, or cognized, means kind of thought about, there will be in the seen only the seen, in the heard only the heard, in the sensed only the sensed, in the cognized only the cognized. And then it gets a bit more cryptic, but that bit is quite straightforward in a way, isn't it? It's like when you see something, you just see it. When you hear something, you just hear it. When you sense something in another way, you just sense it. When you think about something, you're just aware that you're thinking about something. So I wanted to explore this short teaching of the Buddha's a little bit for the rest of the talk. But I had this question in the week, how should we do it? Like, there are different ways you could explore this teaching. How should we approach it? How should we explore it? So one way would be to really go into the nature of consciousness, like the nature of awareness, the nature of sense awareness, sensory appreciation, what it means to have senses, how they work, how they relate to consciousness. That would be one way of exploring this teaching of the Buddhas. You can tell I'm not going to do that, can't you? Just in the way I'm saying it. But that would be one way, and a really valid way. So the Buddhist tradition has a lot to say about how the senses function. Like loads to say about that. It's all mapped out. You can get diagrams. They're not traditional, but you can get diagrams. How each part relates to each part, how it goes deeper, how it goes even deeper. The people have been meditating on this stuff for thousands of years now, so they've come up with whole systems and many maps to explore and discuss and experience what it's like to have sensory awareness. So we could go down that route, a kind of analytical route, really explore like what's going on, how does it relate to this part. That would be one way of practicing what we call vipassana. So vipassana is really looking into experience and really seeing. You're probably aware of this, but we have vipassana, we have shamatha. This is the way meditation is talked about. There are kind of two approaches to meditation, or two emphases. Shamatha is calming, vipassana is really seeing, investigating what's going on. So we could investigate by looking at the senses and discussing that, analysing, breaking it all down into the maps and taking that further. I don't want to do that, you can tell. Because if we just think about how the Buddha's teaching Bahiya, he doesn't do that. Yeah? So in other suttas, in other teachings, the Buddha does go through, there's an eye consciousness, there's an ear consciousness, that relates to the mind consciousness. So he does break things down in an analytical way and, in a sense, try to explain or describe the process. Here, he just says, in the seen, only the seen. In the heard, only the heard. So it's the Buddha's taking a different approach. And I find that interesting. And I wonder if it's got something to do with where Bahiya is coming from. So Bahiya comes to the Buddha, says, please give me a teaching. The Buddha says, I'm on my arms round. So he says again, please give me a teaching. Please give me a teaching. So there's an urgency and a desire to know, which is a good quality to have. But it's interesting the Buddha responds to that, not by going, okay, right, what you need to do is this, 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 and this. It's just very plain, isn't it? Very simple. For you, Bahiya, in the seen, only the seen. I'm reading into it because we have to, but I imagine the Buddha being quite kind of playful and just dropping something in for Bahiya. So for you, Bahiya, in the seen, only the seen. And sort of deliberately not saying more, just to kind of hook him. Or to get him to redress an imbalance, perhaps, in his approach. So he's got this fire, hasn't he? He's sort of on fire. He's had this something isn't right moment. He's then had this instruction to go and find the Buddha. It says that he immediately set off. And when he found that the Buddha wasn't there, he immediately went and found him. So he's obviously got this real drive. And drive is a very positive quality in life to have. Makes things happen. But it can also be problematic. So more and more of less and less, not more and more of more and more. Maybe Bahiya was coming to the Buddha, I don't know. This is just my reflection. maybe he was coming with an attitude of more and more of more and more. And I think the Buddha's teaching to Bahiya is saying more and more of less and less. So when you look at something, can you just look? When you're listening, can you just listen? When you're thinking, can you just be aware of thought? So this, I'm trying this out. So you can reject that, you can question that, that's fine. But for me, there's something I think important in this teaching about its simplicity. It's almost deceptively simple, because it's just saying, just be with your experience. Yeah, just be with your experience. And like I said, as somebody who is habitually doing more and more of more and more, that's quite a challenge, isn't it? It's sort of easy, in a sense, because you don't have to do anything, but really difficult. There's a Japanese Buddhist teacher, Shinran, who used to teach that the way to the truth was to completely devote yourself to the wisdom of the Buddha Amitabha. You couldn't do anything. All you could do was surrender to the Buddha Amitabha. And he described that practice as the most difficult difficulty of all difficulties. So not having something to do is the most difficult difficulty of all difficulties. Yeah. Maybe it's a temperamental thing. For some of you that will be like, yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. Others you might question that. Yeah? So it depends on your personality type. But for me, I find that difficult. So just sitting and not doing anything, just kind of being aware, open to experience, I immediately notice the impulse to do something. Boredom kind of drops in, doesn't it? Or can do. And kind of resistance to awareness, a resistance just to being here. Yeah. The force of habit. In my own case, it's like this tsunami of desire to do something. Yeah. Even if it's quite kind of noble things, good things. So even in meditation, we did it in here. I don't know about next door, but we had a couple of minutes at the beginning doing nothing, not even meditating. That's how I phrased it. And at the end, we had a few minutes again of doing nothing, just sitting. Yeah, I can see the lack of trust I have that things can just unfold, and this nagging voice, kind of, yeah, but just be aware of your breath, because otherwise all hell might break loose. Or no, you should just carry on like loving kindness. Otherwise you'll be really selfish and sink into something really selfish. This little voice comes in to try to poke me into action again. But of course, as we go about our daily lives, that habit is strong as well. So, yeah, just noticing my own urge to pick up the phone, yeah, or finish one thing and immediately go into the next thing. So there's a kind of ongoing stream of activity that it's hard to break. It's really hard to break, I think. We're so busy. I'm busy, even with like good things. So here we've got a teaching that is going to the heart of that, trying to challenge that. And giving us some instruction, some things to look at or some things to bring awareness to, but just that. So similar to the mindfulness of breathing, in a sense, the only thing we need to do in the mindfulness of breathing is be mindful of breathing. We have all this meditation teaching around it, just finished in the middle of a 6-week course on it, but really the simple instruction is just be mindful of breathing. we need all the other stuff because it's so difficult. But also maybe we could just trust in awareness. Or at least have periods where we just bring that trust to the forefront of our experience rather than as a kind of background thing to our activity. So I thought what we would do is, rather than me saying more about it and talking, is just to do that. Just to see if we can rest in awareness, just for a few minutes. So you don't have to be in meditation posture for this, just stay relaxed. Hello?
Can I say something before we do that?
No. Sorry. I'd like to keep the stream of going into that. Maybe at the end this time. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, just be comfortable. Okay, so just for 2 minutes, I'm just going to invite you all to explore the visual field. So it's interesting, a lot of us closed our eyes already. We're just opening the eyes. It's up to you, you can have them softly open or fully open. And just notice what you see. So the Buddha says, in the seen, only the seen. It's funny, isn't it? Because the bell sounds like now we stop doing something, but we're still seeing. Mm-hmm. So, in a sense, nothing has changed there. We're still seeing. But just opening up to other things, and again, just a question like, what did you notice? Anybody, any observations or comments? Just brief things. What happened when you tried to see only the seen? What did you notice?
I saw a few more details that I missed before, like the leaves on the ground, the little bag under the table, the fire extinguishers, the sign there, just stuff you...
They're supposed to be a bit more hidden. Yeah, so your field of vision, in a sense, filled out, that you were aware of more of what you could see than before. Yeah.
I would also say that I can tell that there's not only the seeing, but also the sense of me who's seeing.
Uh-huh.
So there's a feeling of separation. I mean, what the Buddha seems to say to me, it sounds like there's no feeling of the seer and something that's seen, but only the seeing. When I look, I can still feel like, okay, I'm doing the seeing.
So when you were looking, it was like there's something out there,
exactly.
I'm here. So you said a sense of separation? Yeah. At the back?
Just notice how quickly I started naming things.
Naming things.
Like, that is a lamp.
Yeah.
That is a brick. That
Yeah.
is, but that's cognition, not just seeing.
Yeah. How many other people said, brick? Yeah, me too. Bricks. Yeah, so like you say, it's not, brick is not a visual experience, is it? But we have a visual experience that we then associate with the concept of bricks or lamps or people. Yeah. So we can't isolate a sense, and it's not that thinking around it is bad, but often we mistake the thought or the concept of brick with the experience, and maybe when we do that we stop looking. And it's not that those things are wrong, is it? Because if I was building a house, I need bricks. I need to ring up, I don't know how these things work, ring up a construction company and ask for some bricks and they would bring them. So we need the concept, but if we only live in the secondary reality of the concepts, then we might miss part of the richness of the experience, kind of seeing more and more in the visual field. Yeah?
I also noticed attachment to certain things that I right away attached to, like these trees up there that I prefer looking at bricks, let's say.
Yeah. So there were certain things you could see that you wanted to focus on, and certain things you either were not aware of or didn't want to be aware of. Yeah. It's really interesting. It's like you've brought out different people, that this sense of separation that we can experience, kind of something out there, something here, distance, but also the kind of preferences that we might have. Things that we want in our experience, things that we don't want, things that we just don't care about or notice. Yeah. Okay, let's just try again for a minute, having had some discussion, and see what happens this time. So just emphasize, it's not that we're trying to see to the exclusion of all the rest of our experience. We're just bringing sight to the forefront and allowing other things to go to the back. Another thing to just drop in is around effort. Like, do we have to make any effort to see things? So sometimes that sense, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but you said about the separation. Sometimes that means that when we look, we're kind of projecting our sight outwards. But just see if we can be receptive to what we see and what that does. Yeah? Okay, so in the scene, again, only the scene. So because of time, we don't have time to do that again. Last night I did that about 4 times in a row, just 2 minutes. And it was interesting how each time I saw something different. I don't mean literally, but literally, but also just in the sense of coming to some kind of deeper experience. So whether it was noticing colours, noticing shapes, like you said at the back, noticing things I wanted to see, things I didn't. Like, very simple thing to do just for 10 minutes, but it definitely changed my state of consciousness. So I think for me there was a kind of relaxation that came just through opening up to what was seen. Let me throw in a poem. So this is an extract from a poem. Somebody called Liesel Müller. And what's the title? I haven't got it copied here. Monet refuses the operation. So Monet, the painter, refusing the operation to have something done to his eyes. So, Doctor, you say there are no halos around the street lights in Paris, and what I see is an aberration caused by old age, an affliction. I tell you, it's taken me all my life to arrive at the vision of gas lamps as angels, to soften and blur and finally banish the edges you regret I don't see, to learn that the line I called the horizon does not exist, and sky and water so long apart are the same state of being. 54 years before I could see Rouen Cathedral is built of parallel shafts of sun, and now you want to restore my youthful errors. Fixed notions of top and bottom, the illusion of three-dimensional space, wisteria separate from the bridge it covers. I will not return to a universe of objects that don't know each other, as if islands were not the lost children of one great continent. The world is flux, and light becomes what it touches. It's amazing, isn't it? So it's not that we literally see gas lamps as angels, street lights as angels, but maybe that's a closer description of what we would see than street light. Yeah. So a little bit of encouragement just to explore the senses. So in the seen, only the seen. We could repeat the experiment with sounds, just in the sounds arising and passing away, just the sounds. And when we do that, what we probably notice is, like people have picked up, there's labeling, there's liking and disliking, all in response to that. But can I accept the challenge of just occasionally, like just sitting and opening to that kind of play of experience, and maybe trusting that there's some deeper sense of relaxation in that, sense of rest, a sense of things unfolding without me having to do anything to make that happen or control the way that happens. And I'm really not rejecting activity and doing things and shaping things, because that's really important too. I just wonder if kind of culturally we sometimes need the opposite perspective. Maybe there's something of the Bahiya in our culture that has the urgency and the drive and can do great things, but also needs to be able to rest, put down, and allow experience to come to us. I think that's enough. I think I will stick to my precept of more and more of less and less. We've heard the Buddha's teaching to Bahiya, and we've explored it a little bit. So I would just encourage a continued exploration of that. It's funny, I'm challenged, like I don't want to end, because I feel like, no, I haven't said anything, or I haven't given you enough or something. It's really interesting. Like, this is live now, this is what's going on for me in my mind. But yeah, there's this challenge of needing to give you more, but maybe I just stop now and leave you with that. So thank you.
Thank you.